Yeah, thank you for joining and participating in this webinar. I hope others who signed in will join in the meantime. So we will proceed. I will proceed with the presentation, basically. My name is Fisnik Recica. I'm a senior researcher at the Riinvest Institute and been working in the advocacy for open government projects since the beginning. I was very intensively engaged in the first part of it, and then later a bit just passively engaged because I got involved in the development world, but also from the governance perspective and open government data that works for the development, which for me doesn't make a difference. So today I will be very happy to present you and discuss with you interactively, hopefully, the open government data issue and topics that we consider are important and that are should be considered seriously by the government, by citizens, and by all stakeholders who are interested in this regard. The presentation and the content is basically based on the research done by Riinvest Institute as part of the Advocacy for Open Government project, as part of the PASSES network in this regard, and it's something that was produced also as a published work, a policy brief on open government data, key to a transparent, accountable and participatory society. But today we are trying also to enrich it with other information and to compare it with other developments and latest developments. So what I'm going to talk about today, open government data is quite a broad topic. It's been one of the focused topics, or the topics that all governments of the world nowadays are interested to talk about, but unfortunately not all of them are interested to do much about it. So they want to have it in their agenda, but not really to push things through and make changes. So first part of the presentation will be discussing about why do we need to access government data. Why it is important, who should do it, is government data only for citizens? Is it government data important for businesses, for other stakeholders, or for the government itself, and why? Then the second part has to do about the open data in Kosovo, the Kosovo context. Where do we stand? What were the changes? Lots of initiatives. Did it help? Did the government change its focus, change its strategy? Did the government improve anything in this regard? And how the data should be understood? And is just we need to have data there, or we really should make the data speak the citizens' language? And yeah, we consider that data should really speak the citizens' language, because otherwise if the data is out there but we cannot read it, it's not useful at all. So it's not for the government just to have them online somewhere and then to challenge people how to get to the data and how to read the data, but it's really to make them easy readable. So while I'm speaking and leading you through this presentation, please, any questions that you have, please write so we can make it a more interactive discussion. Many people, many individuals, but also representatives of the government, make the question, what is open data? And it's really important to understand it. Not everyone understands it. For some open data, for some government officials, what we observe, open data can also be, you're free to request access to some particular government data. But unfortunately, that's not the case with open data, because the word open means a piece of data that is open for anyone to use freely, reuse it and redistribute it. So this is something that we really need to also educate our governments, local governments, central governments, that this needs to be open to anyone and to be freely used and easily accessible. And because like in many portals of the governments, they publish like lots of reports, lots of paperwork, data that you need to kind of spot within the lines of a big report, which is not easy readable. And they don't usually provide data sets that we can use also in our daily works as citizens, or businesses can use to see what is happening in the market, or scientists can use it to make a scientific paper, and all of this should be provided in a data set, and this data set should be also in a format that can be used, and in a format that data can be also in a way adapted for the needs of specific individuals, specific agents, specific stakeholders. So apart from making the data open and making reports open, we really need the governments to provide this data into data sets that are usable, and in the data set that really one can see the trends, one can analyze statistics, and it should be also something that you can find in one central portal. Let's say in case of Kosovo, there are many agencies, government agencies, ministries, local government, then agencies of statistics, customs, and etc. And for someone really to find the data he needs or she needs, it's very difficult to even know where to look at. And there is a portal of data, of government data, but which is not very well elaborated, and you cannot easily follow and easily track everything, and also easily address issues of interest for a party. So from the citizens' perspectives also, it's important to really understand what the open government data means. What is that about? Is it also only about the government expenses? It's about the economy? It's what it is about. Basically what open government data is, and what we should understand with it, is that data are produced, commissioned by the government or government-owned entities. And what is important is that these are published online. So really, having data out there in the reports, in the government files, is not an open government data. We as citizens need to access this data. We as citizens need really to get the information easily. And also the governments from the other side should understand that by providing this data to us and making them public to us, they should have a data set, they should have a file of data that are really complete, primary, timely. It's important to have them on time, otherwise they don't make sense many times, but also this is one of the problems with the regulation and current legal framework, let's say in case of Kosovo, that you may get GDP data just a year after or with a year lag, which does not help a lot for the economy to make strategies, but also for the businesses itself to see where the trends are going and what we should expect. These data should also be very well structured and very easily accessible. And at the end, because we are in the world of technology and innovation, we should process them somehow. So if data is not processable, then really it's not out there, and we cannot call it public and open. And if data has some form of patenting, licensing, we need to apply for a usage license, then this again doesn't fall under the public open government data. And this is very important because many times, even for some simple data and information in the government or at the local, even at the central level, journalists, individuals who have interest in it, Other agencies really need to make a request and to get permission to it, but for the government it would be much easier if they provide it online, because it's not something that one needs to request a license for it. It's just that the government officials, but also the government itself does not really understand and put much effort into making its work transparent, because by that they also benefit and gain the trust of citizens and the trust of other stakeholders who would be better informed in this regard. So why opening government data still? What's the purpose? Why do we need that? Is it about transparency? Is it about releasing social and commercial value? Is it about participation and engagement? And yeah, it's about, more or less, it's about all of these things, because we as citizens, we need to know what our government is doing. And if we are well informed about what our government is doing, then we increase our trust in the government. On the other hand, for the government, it's very important to know that what they are doing and what is their progress, and or their problems they should address in the meantime. And if this data is not public, then it means it's not public, not for the citizens only, but it's also for the government itself, because it may be accessible by one department, but not by all departments of the government, which means it doesn't work for them as well. And in terms of commercial value, social value, what it should bring to society, opening the data and opening all the relevant information really makes a difference in the society. It's not just in societal terms, but it's also for the commercial purposes. So let's say many times we end up having lots of surveys, lots of data collection for the same thing, but from different agencies, even within the government agencies. Then, apart from that, there are lots of donors investing in these kinds of things: market research, data collection, databases, which are never gathered, never aggregated, and never put in a platform that can be used for useful reasons. And then we end up with lots of public money being invested for things that already have been done by others, but there is no information because nobody started to collect it, nobody started to gather it. And this is basically the responsibility and the role of the government, because everything, all other stakeholders can anchor into a platform of the government if that really works. And they would, because basically the main objective of all donor projects, government activities, but also the private sector, is really to create some social and commercial value, because that would work for all parties. And for citizens really to use the data, but also provide feedback and make the government improve the system, then we come to participation and engagement. So if society and us as individuals are really directly informed, we can influence the decision making. If we are not informed, then how we can influence something we don't know, and how we can make a change that works better for all of us. Let's say, just a simple example, in our municipalities around here, that if there is a tendency or an attempt or an objective to change, modify law, modify tax policies, or modify property tax, which works at the municipal, and 99% of citizens don't even know what's the current tax system. And the government, local government, invites them into a public hearing. how you expect people and citizens to get involved in country? They don't know what it is about, what was the current system, what are the intended changes, and where to build their thoughts on. You cannot expect that changes come, the engagement comes only with participation in public hearings, which is one of the most often justifications of government that, okay, we're open because we invite. And that really is not something we're looking for. We're looking into some productive, proactive participation and engagement. We're looking to the innovative tools and technology that also enable the government to be more efficient, enable the government to use the technology instead of people, so they can easily access and reach everyone. They can build the trust with everyone. They can get their feedback, and by getting their feedback, they can improve things for good. And this would mean better economic development, a more organized society, and more trustful government. So it's basically open government data works for everyone, and it's a win-win situation. So that would be kind of a story we need for everyone related to what we're looking for, that everyone understands from their viewpoint. But it's not opening up and providing too much public efforts into just give out the data because there are some requirements. But this is needed because it's better for all of us, and this helps us to track our work, but also helps us to improve our work. And there are tendencies to date that this is slightly improving, but not really that all the tools, all the technology and innovation that is being used by, let's say, developed countries is not very well utilized in the countries in the region, especially in this case in Kosovo. So, what types of data we're looking for? Is this just government decisions or government expenses, or it's about everything? It's about finance, it's about statistics, it's about business data, social related data, geographic and transport related data, environment and meteorological related data, or everything else. So basically the types of data the government should try to aggregate and open and make useful for everyone combines all these sets of fields and sectors that are needed to be known and to be public for all stakeholders engaged in the related sectors really to try improve things. Because if we don't know the current trends, if we don't know the current situation, then we cannot also identify causes of problems. We can see symptoms, but if we don't have the exact data, we cannot track down what is the underlying cause of the symptoms of our economic problem, political problems, social problems, environmental problems, let's say. And this helps the government to come up with solutions and activities, because this enables individuals, citizens, NGOs, all active civil society to provide recommendations and solutions, to provide alternatives to it. So where should the data basically be open and be presented and be transparent? Many examples show that there can be different kinds of portals, but for the government really to track it down, to organize it well, and to enable citizens to be able to find any kinds of data they need, central portal it's necessary. A central portal that can also link the central to the needed sources of data. Like in terms of finance, we may need data on expenditures and revenues of the government. We may need data on financial markets, which not necessarily are, let's say, implemented and managed by the government, but there is a link that they can make it happen. In terms of statistics, we many times face problems of having different statistics on the same thing provided by 2-3 public agencies, which then creates some confusions and misleads the decision making and also misleads the investments. And these indicators, statistical indicators, are key to public decision making. In terms of business information, many times there is a problem of identifying, especially in the case of Kosovo, identifying how many businesses we have, how many are active, which sectors are they active, which sectors we have more businesses being established, and which sectors businesses are closing down. This tells us a lot. And this also tells the government where to invest public money. And this also tells the government to transmit the message that where the opportunities for investments are. But if these are not very well coordinated, organized, aggregated in one central point, one central data hub, then we cannot track it. And the case of developed countries should be followed in this regard. But in the case of Kosovo, this is one thing to be addressed, and that may help the government, but also may help the civil society, citizens, and business community to really make use of it and together see where and how to proceed. Then, various types of statistics and economics, employment, health, public administration, which are related to social information. And this is very difficult to be tracked down, very difficult to find. It's not disaggregated per region, per sector, per municipality, and then we end up that the decisions, even decisions of municipality, are not really based on the data and the experiences they have that they can evidence, but more on their own insights and instincts on how to proceed further, and which also may create some of a loss in the economy, so it's a loss for everyone. So all other information, like in terms of geography, transport, environment, is very important. Like if we have agriculture as a sector, but we don't have meteorological information and data open and transparent and timely, then this may lead also to problems and losses in the sector, because the people involved, actors involved, were not informed about it. They did not have access. They don't have access about the trends, what is expected, what are the factors. And even if this information is within the expert of the government and expert of the industry and sectors, it's not easily to really transmit it to the random citizen, to a random farmer. So it's very important that everything, all this kind of data, is gathered in one place, is organized, collected in one platform, and then is linked to all other sources of data that one can find and one need. So in general, that's about the open data, open government data, why do we need it, and why also the project that developed the studies involved was based on. So it's something that really brings transparency, brings accountability, brings involvement of citizens and everyone interested, and also brings innovation into the market. How do we stand? Did we make any change since we started? Where does Kosovo stand now with the open data? Since the beginning, when we started this activity and the project, we've seen that in terms of legal provisions, there is a constitutional provision, a respective law that really provide and guarantee the access to public documents. And the question we had since the beginning, we said, okay, it works in theory, it's perfect, it seems very good, it's applicable and it's comparable to EU legislation, but does it work in practice? And if it doesn't work in practice, then really why does it work? And yeah, this led us to investigation and seeing the current situation. And we've seen also that there is a law that kind of guides the process of application for access to official documents. And this doesn't mean that, going back to the open data, if there are data that we really need to ask for permission, it means it's not open. It's there for us to access, but it's not open. And still there is a process behind it. So from the moment of application to the moment of being able to see the data and review the data that you're looking for, there are several days. And one thing that changed is that this is shortened a bit, because it was a limit of 15 days. Now this has been reduced to 7 days. So it's, we can say that it's a positive trend. It's a motivation and willingness to change things and to make it better, but still this is going slowly. And then provision or making available business data of, let's say, of the political institutions. There are many government bodies that started to make the data available online, but unfortunately this is mainly in terms of reports, which means PDF, Word version, but it's not an open format. So if you're looking for procurement data, then we would like to have a data set of this information. Because only in that way we can really work on it. If we want to test different economic assumptions, and we want to also provide, do some econometric tests and engage some scientific work in it, then only the reports are not enough. And also, if the reports are there, there is many times difficult for businesses that even report on the process to understand what the report is really telling about. So there are opportunities and potential to really change and improve it better. And but this then is, if you ask the government and if you ask the officials, it's like, okay, data is there, but not really many individuals and organizations are interested to get it. And the report, the annual report that was done by Public Communication Office in the Office of the Prime Minister, which is about year 2014, tells us that the most requests were about for statistics. So basically, whichever port is looking for data, they were interested in statistics. So economic statistics, all other statistics. And you know, the assumption would be, okay, who uses statistics? Are these NGOs, researchers, journalists, or individuals? But statistics, you know, having a need to really to apply and to make application to get permission to access statistics doesn't fit into open data concept. Because statistics are there to be open. Statistics are there for the citizens, or there for the business community, or there for all other relevant stakeholders. If we talk about draft laws that are not yet public, about decisions that are to be published, about some contracts that involve business confidentiality things, then okay, one may say that this is regulated by law, and due to data privacy, you really need to ask for permission because not everything can be public. But having a need to apply for statistics, really, it's something that should change, because statistics should be freely accessible and open to everyone who wants to use. No matter if that's a journalist, it's an NGO, it's a researcher, it's a student, statistics should not be a problem. And when we look at the profile of parties that made requests to the government of the Republic of Kosovo on specific data, which involve mostly, as we've seen statistics, it's about journalists. So trying to make a correlation, and the reason behind it's okay, journalists need to make stories about the economic trends. Journalists need to make stories about political trends and developments. So they're looking for statistics to come up with the story. And why should they need the permission for that? Why should the statistics just be out there, open, freely, and easily accessible? But also not just being there, but also being shown and presented in a way that everyone can understand. Even a politician or a historian who never read about the economy should be able to, just when it sees the data and it sees a figure out of it, should understand what it is about. Then the second group or second party who was more intensive in requesting access to data was civil society. And the third one is budgetary organizations. So we try also to think about why is the reason behind, and budgetary organizations needing to access government data. Basically because also they need to plan, and they need to have strategic visions, so they need to know to how much they can commit, they need to know the sectors they can look at, and the sectors that are more promising in the future, or the technologies that are coming in, but needing to ask for those kinds of data and to ask for permissions doesn't make them really efficient. And to make their work efficient, also, having platforms of data where one can just access whenever he feels and needs it, it will make it easier. And yes, then we see that there are also individuals, students, and companies who really have asked for permission or access to specific data. And if these are individuals and students, you again think, okay, this may be statistics that one needs to have for a research or for a study or for whatever reason. Or companies need to know what can really they consider for their investments, and if they applied for or they bid it for a project or a tender that they did not win, then why they cannot just see transparently why that happened and who was better than them, because that would really help them to improve in the future, and that would help the competition, and that will also create trust between these parties and the government. Otherwise, if data is not open and public, even everything is done very well, even everything is done at the highest ethical and moral standards, the suspicions would still rely and be there always. So we have these problems still around, and we don't need to invent things, basically. In the developing world and in the countries in transition, we don't need to invent things, they are invented. We don't need to invent platforms, they are invented. We just need to put some effort and to follow these success stories. But the first thing in the regions, I think, is that one should follow the regional countries around that have made a step forward, because we are more homogeneous, and we can believe that if we follow the ones that's closer to us, we can also reach the goals that we are following if they already did so. So what did, let's say in case of Kosovo, for year 2014, institutions had requests for around, about 2 requests per day in terms of data access, and altogether around 850 per year during 2014. While in the case of the neighboring country Albania, that has an open data portal, Open Data Albania, publishes its public data on the portal, they received roughly around 270 daily visitors, which have free access and availability to use and reuse the public data. So just by comparing these 2 cases, we see that on the Albania case, people visit this site, people get access to the data because it's open and free. And it's, when you look at the portal, it's easily readable, and you can really go around the data and don't need to understand the indicators in order to understand what the data are speaking about. But in case of Kosovo, it's totally different. What in Albania visitors do for 3 days, in Kosovo we have around 850 requests per year. And why? If the procedures are so bureaucratic and there will be delays in order to get access to something, then this kills our motivation really to look for whatever that is. It's an important data, information, or statistics that we just need for our curiosity. This does not motivate us to look out of it, and this just makes us withdraw and, just look for whatever we can find that is open, or we can ask someone to explain. And this is one of the cases where also data began misinterpreting by journalists, by students, by the parties involved, because they are not well explained, and then whoever does it, whoever takes the responsibility to interpret the data, they are not experts of the field, but they also are not capable to engage experts, so they explain that. So having a portal, and a case of Open Data Albania portal is let's say one of the examples, and there are many other examples around the world that work well in this regard, and that you just need to tell the portal what you need, so you get the data. In case of Kosovo, it has started, still it's far beyond the objectives and the level that we want to reach. And this was one of the objectives also of the Open Government Partnership Initiatives. And in the case of Kosovo, it created a momentum that said, okay, we started to do something in terms of open data. E-government was the only thing that government was thinking in terms of trying to be transparent. Show the reports there, but really do not make too much effort in terms of trying to make them understandable. Then this was also part of the National OGP Action Plan that was submitted to OGP headquarters, and the government was committed to implement the action plan, although not yet accepted as OGP member, and the state online portal became kind of a central piece of the action plan. And okay, it's something that the government agreed to have, and let's make all the data integrate into this portal. It's a good initiative. Publicly, it provides some, let's say, some transparency only by starting it, and it provides, it gives insights into the indications that government is willing to be more transparent, is willing to provide and interact with citizens more. But that's still in the theory, because the progress to date says that, there is some movement, there is some positive trend, but at a very slow pace. It means that the investments into the technological innovations that also will help the open data objective are not being followed. So the strategy into engaging in OGP initiative still remains more of a political motive and objective rather than something that really governments wants to do in order to not just look transparent towards international communities and different networks and have that as a justification for local citizens, but it should have been something that was part of the strategy to create a better economy, to create better linkage with the citizen, and to increase and empower the trust between the government, no matter local or central, and citizens who are part of the country. So, if the government doesn't act, then in the open information or globalized world, citizens always have this information and they know what happens in other countries, so we expect private initiatives. And one of the private initiatives that started apart from this central government portal in Kosovo is the Open Data Kosovo. And the Open Data Kosovo basically started by an international software engineer. And this may be, we can say that, okay, it's something that comes from outside. It's lessons learned for someone that comes from a country that has it, the open data strategies and platforms in place, and is bringing it, introducing it in Kosovo, which, you know, it's very welcome. And the platform has started, and to date has achieved to really collect on kind of integrate a limited number of institutions who would and are willing to publish data in this platform. And these are government, non-government, municipalities, ministries, NGOs. And the platform has reached or has managed to collaborate with the Ministry of European Integration in Kosovo, with the Information Society Agency, and there is a plan behind to work towards an integrated module where the government data may publish all the classified data. So we have two platforms, one private initiative and then we have one public initiative, the government initiative, to have its local portal and to have its centralized portal. We would say, or we kind of overlapping and putting too much resources in it. But having a private initiative and having an open data platform that is managed mainly by a private company and private individuals and experts of the field who also give the space to all innovative people to bring up new apps that can make the data speak the citizens' language, then this also provides kind of more an accountable platform, because it's something that is managed independently, but it's integrating the data that comes from the government, and it can in future it can be something that also can be more or less commercial, and it's a similar model to the case of Open Data Albania, and it's helpful. The government, we can say, it's seen the importance of it. It's trying to invest, but it's still something that is peripheral to its core objectives. So open data is not just data there. For the government, we should really try all the NGOs, civil society, private sector should try to increase the awareness towards ourselves, the government and all the parties involved, that by having open data is not by having something that we can criticize each other, but it's a tool that helps us all together to improve and make better strategies forward. Otherwise, we will end up working on creating maybe very good plans, but for wrong objectives, because we did not identify the obstacles. So we have a wrong identified problem, and we are developing solutions. And the same thing may happen also within the government and the government strategies. If the data is not interactive, if the inputs from the feedback from citizens is not very well utilized, and the private sector also is not well engaged and does not have access to the right data. So what trends to follow, really? If there are regional initiatives, if we know the trends in the developed economies, what should our government follow, and why should they make the open data platform a core to their political aims and a core to the development of the country? One thing, and trends to follow, are the trends of basically successful stories, successful countries. And if you look at the European Commission open data policy, as well as the G8 countries' open data principles, they all talk about new products and services, potential of data to make a reuse of what we have in the market and to come up with new solutions. So open data works for innovations in the private sector. Open data works for the new innovative solutions to our challenges in the society. If the problems are explained through data and data is available openly, then we have the private sector who can help the governments to come up with innovative solutions. If our public administration uses innovative tools to inform us proactively and productively in terms of changes, in terms of decision-making, in terms of their plans, and want to involve citizens into discussions and strategic planning, then using innovative tools would be much more efficient than trying to reach citizens physically and trying to reach, let's say, main representatives of groups of citizens, which usually happens when the government, central or local, engages into the, let's say, public hearings for different things. Then participation of citizens, increased transparency of government. How do we make sure that this happens? In one of the conferences, it's personal experience. One of the conferences I participated, it was, like one question. Okay, we are talking about engagement of civil society, different groups, NGOs, think tanks that can really bring value and support the government in decision making. But participation means participation of all individuals in the country, because we never know who and from where the best idea can come from. So in order to make sure that we are not leaving out anyone, nowadays tools, innovative tools, can really help to spread out the information, to have it public, but also go a step further. And in the, let's say, the today apps, all the relevant and important information can be spread to citizens and to everyone that is interested to get the information if they enroll and register and provide some contact information. So European Commission, European Union is going towards this direction. Why Kosovo shouldn't go, why countries in the region shouldn't go. And if we look at the most powerful countries, they say open data by default is not something we can really choose to have or not to have. We should have it. It's not just about having lots of data out there publicly available, but also have quality. And this quality means the data is robust. It's not just the data that was never checked. It means that the data should be usable by all of us, so everyone can easily read. And if there are some indicators that you cannot understand easily, there is also some explanation. And the G8 countries will release the data because they want to improve governance, but not just that, they want to improve innovation, and not innovation just in the public sector and administration, but also innovation in the private sector. Because that's the starting point in terms of innovation process decision making, to see, to spot the opportunities in the market, to spot the opportunities in the economy, to identify problems and convert these problems into opportunities. So what that means? That means that the data basically should not speak the data language. The data should speak the citizens' language. And we as citizens, if we access to an open data portal, we really need to understand the data. We need to have the data usable, so they should be really in the format we can download. They should have some applications available that we can develop indicators without knowing the theoretical models very well and without the need to know the methodologies of development of these indicators. And what is most important, and what also we consider help the usage of data in the case of Open Data Albania portal, is visualize indicators. So develop apps that really can make you see these indicators, this information in a graphical form, in the most usable and most understandable form that one can think of. And when these portals are interacting with the citizens and are open, and also not just open for access to data, but also open for cooperation with citizens, there may be new ideas coming that will improve these apps, improve the service, and improve the interaction with citizens, and also enable this interactive feedback. And this brings us to the end of the presentation. I thank you very much for your attention. The presentation was planned to be 45 minutes. I think I exceeded it a bit. And yeah, thank you very much for your attention. And I would like really to discuss any relevant question that you may have, or anything that you would like to discuss in terms of the presentation, but not just that, you know, also outside of the presentation. Alfredo?
Fisnik, yes, I'm here. I want to thank everybody for attending. As I said before, this webinar has been recorded, and we will put it up on the YouTube channel of PASOS and promote it on the website. And we'll see if we get maybe some more feedback done. I appreciate everybody who showed up. And Fisnik, thank you for an excellent presentation. Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you all for participating and being patient to remain till the end.
Yes, that's hard to do. That's hard to do. Congratulations. Okay, well look, we got a holiday weekend coming up for everyone, I believe. So everybody please have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the weather if it's nice where you are. Oh, wait a minute, we have one question. We have a question from Gabor. So Gabor wants to know...
Hi, Gabor. Okay, hi Gabor. Yeah, very good question. What commercial data can be shared and what I think can be shared? Working also in the development world where it's all about private sector and let's say commercial development, of course that, the data, when we have to do with businesses and we release business data, this should be anonymized because we are not, the government should, and whichever platform is doing it, should make sure that is not releasing some confidential data that our competitors and whoever is out there can really spot what's happening and seeing which business is doing what and then use it for their own interest. What is important is that commercial data in terms of sectors and regions at the municipal level, but also at the national level. What are the trends, let's say, if we have quarterly data or at least biannual data available that we know what is the growth of the sector, in which sectors we have more companies or in which sectors we have less companies, in which sectors there are more investments, which sectors interact with each other. I would say these are very important data for the investors to decide what to do next, but also for the governments, municipal and the national government to decide, which sector needs to be supported more and where the opportunities are coming. So anything that is cannot be directly linked to an individual business, I think it should be open for public. Yes, Zdravko, thank you for the question. Yes, that's quite a challenge, and openness of the government, as I said in the presentation, would not mean only opening data, but being open also to cooperate with the private sector, to cooperate with individuals in order to come up with tools, apps, formats that can make and convert the data into a very machine-readable format. And many times this does not happen and the government does not invest in it because it's a resource-intensive thing, and they may lack resources from within the government to do it, but there is always a possibility to cooperate with the private sector. And one of the strategies that Open Government Data Kosovo is using is really to be for cooperation and invite all individuals, all organizations, all institutions that have a better idea on how to make things better be part of the platform. So not just, let's say, being in the cooperative, but enabling kinds of ownership to the individuals and private sector if we are talking about the platform. So, giving them also a carrot that they will be interested to support the platform and the government in terms of coming up with more useful, readable, and understandable formats of data. Because many times government also, and public, let's say public officials, may not be very well aware of, what is needed outside, what people want to have. Okay, yeah, I agree with you, that this is, sometimes there is a competition, and this is also, I see as a problem also, not just from the government perspective, but it's also a problem from the civil society perspective, because from the civil society perspective, you want to really improve things, and in order to improve things, you want to build trust and to be part of it. If you're not part of things, you're not integrated into situation and organization where things are happening, then you cannot make a change. Many times we see government as, not very well functioning, not operational, lacking behind with many things, and now we want to build our own case for saying that, okay, this is how things should be, providing critique but never solutions. And I think the solution is somewhere in the middle. It's not just that there is resistance only from the government. I see many times resistance also from the civil society organizations to provide solutions for the government, always thinking that, okay, then, what happens because the government takes the whole attribute. A model, and these models are always flexible and can be changed, a model where there is a platform, let's say online data platform, that is run by a private sector in coordination with the public sector and with a mutual trust, involving all civil society and private sector to come up with ideas and give them ownership for those ideas, can create a model that, may establish this trust between different parties. Hope I managed to, at least to some degree, answer and respond to your points. Any other comment or question?
Okay, now let's start the holiday weekend.
Okay. Yeah, thanks again to all of you for being very patient to listen to me, and also for your questions and comments, and hope that we will, our roads will cross again somewhere and we will be able really to go on. And I thank PASSES for the initiative and for supporting, these ideas and the webinars, because this very well really helps us to share information, to kind of spill over knowledge from one party to another party.
Yes, and Fisnik will be back for another webinar next week on the 29th, same time. We'll have more information sent out on that. See you then, guys.
Thanks.